Okay, so this is a lesson plan that I actually had to teach for my social studies methods class. So I'm just going to essentially be doing kind of a shortened version of that because it was created to be about 30 minutes long. But I will just go through and demonstrate what I did or what I would have done in the classroom. So my lesson starts out by looking at the current map for the 2020 presidential election. And as you can see here, there are a pretty even amount of states for each candidate. Actually, when I counted, it was 50-50, including the ones that aren't official or weren't officially declared at the time yet. And so the question was, if 50 states were blue and 50 states were red, how is it that Joe Biden could have been unofficially declared the president at such a large scale? And the answer was the Electoral College and the electoral votes that he received. So that's what this lesson plan would have been over. So yes, the Electoral College. So the first thing that I would have done or did do in that lesson was I went through a pretty quick lecture. It took about 10 minutes just to kind of establish what the Electoral College is, what kind of governmental system the United States uses, how many states or how many votes each state actually receives. So I knew that one of the kids was from Kansas, one was from Nebraska, and one was from Minnesota. So I just kind of asked them if they knew how many House of Representative members they had, plus 2 senators, which would equal their electoral votes. And just kind of did a short exercise with them over that. Takes 270 to win, and we are in a winner-take-all system. So those are just some of the things that I went over, as well as some issues of debate surrounding the Electoral College and whether it should be used or not. And then the main portion of my lesson plan was actually an activity. And what I did was I printed out some ballots, and I had 3 different elections based on 3 different things that they were voting on or voting for. And each one of the ballots represented a different state. And so by the end of it, I would tally up their votes and compare it to the popular vote and see who actually won based on the electoral vote. So I'll go through that. So the first one that I did was I just asked them to essentially choose which one they liked better, the color blue or the color green. And like I said, they each represented a state. So the first state was Kansas. They voted for green. And Kansas has 6 electoral votes. And I did Nebraska, which voted for blue, and they have 5 electoral votes. Minnesota went for green, and they have 10. And then Missouri also has 10, but they went for blue. Yes, so when you factor in the popular vote for that, it's 50-50. So then when you calculate the actual electoral vote, which I have it all written down here, you can see it, it was 16-15 in favor of green. So that kind of just demonstrated, even if you have a 50-50 popular vote, how the Electoral College can change that or make a decision on the actual winner. The next one that I did was, again, just kind of their preference, cake or pie. So the first state was New York. New York had 29 electoral votes, and they voted for pie. Michigan, which has 16 electoral votes, also voted for pie. Tennessee, 11, voted for pie. And then West Virginia, which has 15, voted for cake. So overwhelmingly, the popular vote was 75% in favor of pie. There was 56 total electoral votes for pie and 15 for cake. So either way, they would have won, but it was just interesting to compare since New York has 29 and the other states are 15, 16, and 11. It's just interesting to see how it would take at least 2 of those states, if not more, to be able to match the amount of voting power that the state of New York would have. So it's just kind of interesting to show how much one state can influence the decision of the whole entire country if the other states have less influence or less power. So the last one that I did was voting on who they thought would win in a fight, a gorilla or a bear. It's just kind of silly, something fun, something interesting. So the first state was California, which actually has 55 votes. It was the largest state that I used, and they voted for bear. Then I used the state of Texas, which has 38 votes. They also voted for bear. Then we have Georgia, which has 16 votes, and they went for gorilla. And then the last one is Arizona, which has 12, and even if they had voted for gorilla, it would have been lost anyway, but they voted for bear. So that went over to bear, obviously, with 105 of the electoral votes versus 16. And the popular vote, again, was 75% in favor of the bear. So it didn't really matter, but it's just interesting to see that it would have taken all three of the little or smaller states in comparison to California to vote in one way against them to actually have enough power to make a decision for themselves. And I also prefaced it beforehand with the fact that in our system we do have third-party candidates and write-in options and things like that, but I just kept it simple by using 2 options. Just for my own sake, kind of to make it a little less complicated. But yeah, throughout this activity, I just also went through the PowerPoint and showed them on the screen how many votes are actually represented by each state, just to kind of give a little bit of a visual for them. Okay, and then so for the assignment that I would have assigned, I would have asked them to research one issue of debate surrounding the use of the Electoral College in the United States, because that's something we talked about in the PowerPoint, and asked them to write the main points and the differing perspectives surrounding the debate, and to include their own opinion in what they found. And just kind of listed out some of the criteria that I would need. Obviously, this would be posted somewhere for them, and I didn't really make a due date because I figured it would be a really big research project or assignment that they could do within the course of a couple weeks. But yeah, so there's the research assignment. I also would have made sure to go back to the map and kind of been like, okay, now that we've seen how the Electoral College works, how does this establish the 290 votes for Joe Biden in comparison to Trump, and how he could be officially or unofficially declared the president as of right now. And that is the end of that lesson plan.